everyone, welcome to Biophilia, your all-time study mate. Today we are going to start a new chapter from class 12, that is evolution. Evolution, a theory. If you like this video and get some help, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our amazing channel Biophilia. So let's start about a very interesting chapter about how you became into this world, that is the introduction to the evolution. So what is evolution exactly? So evolution means the act of unfolding or unrolling, or it is just a random change from one to another. So जैसे बोला जाता है that you humans as we humans have come from apes या monkeys से हम grow हुए हैं. So these kinds of studies or these kinds of things are the things that come in the study of evolution, and the people who study, they have a subject that is evolutionary biology. So what it is? It is the study of history of life to understand how life forms came onto the earth. क्योंकि earth जो था वो directly एक रात में बन गया, but how did life exactly come? Because earth is only the planet that has life onto it, that is surviving. So how did it come and what things happened that we were not there to identify? That study comes under the evolutionary biology. So universe is said to be a very vast expanded region of the space. That is universe. Universe is unlimited, it is very vast. But inside this big universe there are billions of galaxies. जैसे हमारी एक galaxy है, one of the galaxy that we have, what is the name of the galaxy? Can you remember and tell me? The one galaxy wherein our solar system, that is our earth, is present. So these kinds of galaxies are present entirely in the universe, which is made up of different kinds of stars. So हमारे galaxy में भी stars है, as you know. There are many planets, there are rocky bodies जैसे asteroids हो गए. Then these all are bound together to a gravitational force, and there are many clouds of dust and gases. So all this you can relate to our galaxy, that is the Milky Way or the Akash Ganga. So Akash Ganga or Milky Way is our galaxy, and you can see here in the image, this is such a big universe that you are just a speck into it. So no matter how you are to the universe, you are just a spot that you cannot even see over here, and there is where your earth is. So वो earth अगर इतना छोटा सा है, and on this big planet earth where you are just a tiny little creature. So that big is the universe. So the distance between these kinds of large areas, that is heavenly bodies जैसे earth, or say nearest planet to earth, that is on one side Mars or on one side Venus, even to calculate the distance between them, it is not like 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, it is calculated in light years. So light years is the unit not for time, but it is very important to remember it is the unit for calculating distance. So these distances that are calculated in light years are called as stellar distances, because these are related to the celestial bodies. So the stellar distances. So what is the unit light year? So light year is the unit that how is it standardized? जैसे 1 light year कितना होगा? So a single unit of light year is going to be the distance that is going to be traveled by the light in the time period of 1 year in the vacuum. Now vacuum is very important because space जो है, space में vacuum होता है, right? So as you might have studied in physics, that the distance of speed is distance upon time, and once you want to calculate about distance, what do? You do speed into time. So here speed is nothing but we are taking the speed of light, that is it traveling, and the time is of 1 year. So that gives you the distance in light years. So that is the little physics kept behind understanding light years. The next is how did this origin or how did this universe come into existence. अब जैसे ये तो एक रात में बन जाने वाली बात हो गई, because it was proposed about the Big Bang theory. It is not Big Bang story, but it is Big Bang theory. Now what does it speak? As the name suggests, it was a big bang, यानी बहुत बड़ा धमाका हुआ था, और ये धमाके की वजह से the universe was formed. So universe is said to be a very old man. It is about, the origin started about 20 billion years ago. Now 20 billion years is not a small time phrase. It is a large amount of time. Before that the universe was formed. Now this states that there was a big explosion, और ये धमाके की वजह से there was expansion in volume. टेम्परेचर बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ चुका था, बट जैसे जैसे टेम्परेचर कम हो गया, देन द यूनिवर्स स्टार्टेड टू फॉर्म. And this is the theory, that is एक बड़ा धमाका हुआ from a very big cloud of dust and gases that was called as nebula. So you might have heard it on Discovery or Nat Geo, या कहीं पे देखा होगा about this theory of Big Bang. That is, there was a big gas of cloud or gaseous cloud था called nebula. Nebula में बहुत बड़ा धमाका हो गया, and that became the theory for the origin of universe. So this is just a theory. People have predicted कि ऐसा कुछ हुआ होगा, but there is no kind of proof, but people have started to believe it like that. Then how did it happen कि ये जो बड़ा गैस का क्लाउड था, it had hydrogen and helium gases, so these started to condense. क्योंकि जब explosion हुआ, there was expansion in volume. Now the gases started to condense, and because of the gravitational forces they all came together. तो जब वो साथ में आ गए, then there was formation of different structures, that was like the solar system, which is a part of the Milky Way galaxy, also called as Akash Ganga. And inside the solar system, one planet that was of our importance, that is the Earth. So the Earth was thought to be produced or formed 4.5 billion years ago. So in that case, you can understand that how later on of the formation of universe, the Earth was formed. So 20 billion years ago universe बना, but 4.5 billion years पहले Earth बना. So Earth's age, you can estimate it's about 4.5 billion years ago. Then the gaseous envelope, that was the atmosphere around the Earth that we have today, was not present at the old Earth that was formed 4.5 billion years ago. So हर चीज starting से नहीं मिलती है. Similarly, the atmosphere was not from the first day of the Earth's birth. So because of there was an explosion, बहुत ज़्यादा temperature था, nothing was stabilized. There were many volcanic eruptions, molten masses release हो रहे थे, there was gases overall, so methane था, then there was NH3, that is ammonia, then there was carbon dioxide, water vapor, but water vapor, that is the gaseous form of water, because temperature was not that cooled enough, बहुत ज़्यादा गर्म था because of the explosion. So that was all the condition of the newly formed Earth. Then there were UV radiations, that is ultraviolet radiations, that were present around this structure, and because of that, the water vapor था, that was the moisture that was present, they broke into. वाटर का जो स्ट्रक्चर था उसको यूवी लाइट ने बिगाड़ दिया, उनकी फ्रेंडशिप टूट गई, एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट द हाइड्रोजन एंड द ऑक्सीजन गॉट सेपरेटेड. नाउ व्हाट हैपेंड, हाइड्रोजन ऑक्सीजन अलग हो गए, बोले अब तुम तुम्हारे रास्ते, मैं मेरे रास्ते. सो द हाइड्रोजन, सिंस इट वाज लाइटर इन वेट, the hydrogen thought that I'm being lighter will escape out. So hydrogen being lighter, it escaped out, whereas oxygen being a bit bulkier, वो थोड़ी देर वहाँ पे रह गया, and since it was staying there for a while, it combined to other gases which was around it, that was the methane, ammonia and carbon dioxide. So जब इन तीनों के साथ थोड़ा थोड़ा करके ये मिल गया, what happened? Once it combined, it formed water again. there was formation of carbon dioxide because it came in contact with methane, and there were even other gases that was formed because the reaction with oxygen and other gases. जबकि hydrogen तो सटक गया वहां से, it did not react with any other gases. So because of that, since it was reacting with the other gases present around it, there was no free oxygen. जैसे आज आप फ्री ऑक्सीजन ब्रीथ कर सकते हो, उस टाइम पे अगर आप जिंदा होते, you might have not got free oxygen. So because of free oxygen was not present, the early atmosphere was considered to be reducing, because तब कौन बाहर सटक गया था? It was the hydrogen that escaped out, and hydrogen is the gas that is reducing in nature. So instead of the atmosphere that we have today, so majority किसकी है? Majority is of oxygen comparatively, right? In consideration of hydrogen and oxygen, oxygen is comparatively more in quantity, so it is an oxidizing atmosphere that we have today, that is in present. But जब तब earth बना था, तब hydrogen was free, and because of that it was a reducing nature. So reducing atmosphere was present, and many other things were also going on that we saw. Now oxygen that was present for the reaction purpose. So oxygen ने ये भी सोचा that if I am reacting with other gases around me, why can't I react with myself, that is with oxygen alone? So oxygen और oxygen ने जब react किया, what was the formation? Along with the UV rays that had been the reason to split water and form oxygen, that same UV was also responsible for formation of a very important structure that was a great gift for the earth, that was formation of ozone. So this ozone was a gift for the reaction with oxygen, but it was a kind of broken thing for the case of water. So यूवी लाइट के प्रेजेंस में ऑक्सीजन ने ओजोन का मॉलिक्यूल बनाया, और ओजोन ने जब कंबाइन किया अपने आप को, then there was formation of a shield that is called as ozone layer. Now this ozone layer was a kind of umbrella which was protecting the earth inside it. So this umbrella or this shield is now helping us to protect from the other UV light. So जिसने उसको बनाया वो उसी से हमें protect कर रहा है. So formation of ozone, we need UV light, but once the ozone layer is formed, it is going to protect us from the harmful extra UV light. Then the water vapor. Now water vapor, हर water vapor तो UV light ने नहीं तोड़ा, but some water vapor was still present in the atmosphere, and that some amount of water vapor, since the temperature was cooling down each and every time, the water vapor also tried to condense and form water droplets. So water droplets जब form हो गए, वो नीचे गिरना शुरू हो गए because they became heavier in their weight, and once they became heavier because of gravitation, they came down onto the surface, falling as rain. So तब पहली बार because of condensation rainfall हुआ. So जैसे ही rainfall हुआ, what happened? Since there were a lot of volcanic eruptions that was occurring onto the surface because of high temperature, जैसे ही पानी आके गिरा, there was cooling down of the surface. और सरफेस जैसे ही कूल डाउन होना शुरू हो गया, देयर वॉज फॉर्मेशन ऑफ वाटर बॉडीज. सो जो भी डिप्रेशंस थे ऑन टू द सरफेस, दे गॉट फिल्ड विथ द वाटर, and they became the water bodies that are found onto the earth's surface. The next thing, that is all these things that were occurring onto the preformed earth, life was not still there. यहाँ पे सिर्फ पानी कंडेंस हुआ था, बट अभी तक कोई भी लाइफ नहीं आई थी. लाइफ आने में इट स्टिल टुक 500 million years. That was about 4 billion years ago only life had first appeared onto the earth. So even after the formation of earth, 500 million years लग गए थे to first see life onto it. So till then all these changes were occurring that we discussed here. Now what was the theory of origin of life. हमने देखा कि universe कैसे बना, that was the Big Bang theory. But people now started thinking about how did first life come onto the earth. So there were many, thoughts about how did it happen. So one of the thought given by Father Suresh was named as the theory of special creation. Now, since it is, the kind of people who believed in God or Almighty, so they thought कि ये एक supernatural power है, जैसे भगवान होते हैं, so भगवान सब चीज कर सकते हैं. So that was the supernatural power that God created all the life in 6 days. So this person thought that जो भी life आज तक बनी है, it all got created in 6 days, and on sixth day, that was the last day, the man was created by him. So this theory, according to this theory, that is theory of special creation, the person said that the earth was about 400 years old. Now this is just a theory, just a matter of thought that the person puts into about his own. जब वो बता रहे थे तब उनके पास ज्यादा नॉलेज नहीं थी, but whatever he had, whatever resources he had, according to that he said that God created all this life, and in that way the origin of life started. But still this is not the theory that we can accept, because you can understand 6 days में तो entire life नहीं आई थी. So that was cancelled out, it was ruled out, they did not believe into it. Then the next kind of theory people suggested, that it was theory of catastrophism. Now what is catastrophism? It is a sudden calamity. It was given by Cuvier. So he thought that in certain intervals of time there is going to be a sudden calamity, there is going to be sudden catastrophe, यानी पूरा का पूरा वर्ल्ड एक ऐसे धमाके में जाएगा जिसकी वजह से सारे के सारे लाइफ जो है, सारे स्पीशीज जो है वो एक साथ मर जाएंगे. And because of this periodic catastrophes, there will be localized regions जहाँ पे फिर से species आएंगे and there will be again life formation. But here what did the person say? One particular catastrophe, one particular calamity एक species को पूरा खत्म कर देती है, and again a new species will come and survive. But how did the previous species come onto that? That was the thing was asked. But what did he say? There was repopulation. But how did the population come? That was not answered by him. But that is again during his time, that might be a different era, but still the origin of life was not clear. Then there was another theory understood for it, that was cosmozoic theory. अब जब एक ही planet पे रह के हमें पता नहीं चला how the life originated, now people thought how did it happen that it came from some space. जैसे अर्थ पे ही लाइफ नहीं बनी, the extraterrestrial origin of life was proposed. That was, it was given by a Greek thinker, that is Rich Helmholtz, who thought that it was transferred from another planet. वो जैसे हो सकता है स्पोर्स है, सीड्स है या स्पर्म्स है, उनको कोई एलियन आया और वो एलियन ने अर्थ पे छोड़ दिया, and that how the life originated. But again, how did this start of life, that spore, seeds or sperm came? That was again a question mark, and that also did not suffice. How did the origination of life started? Then there was another theory, that is again these all theories are just things about to understand. They used to have a kind of a free time में आपने सोच लिया कुछ ऐसा हुआ होगा. That is nothing but a theory that people mostly agreed upon in those times, and that became the theory. So the fourth theory that was given around, that is the spontaneous generation. Now this theory said that कि ये कोई outer space से alien आके छोड़ के गई हुई बात नहीं है. It is just kind of a natural spontaneous generation. ये just हो गया. Living organisms just came into life from non-living material. So non-living material जो भी present था वहां से ये living materials आ गए. Now it was thought that whatever was decaying, rotting material था जो सड़ रहा था, उन सब चीजों पे से the frogs and flies came. So what did people saw? उनको दिखा कि डस्टबिन के पास में बहुत सारी चीजें सड़ रही है, फॉरेस्ट में जा रहे हो पत्ते सड़ रहे हैं, वहां पे बहुत सारे फ्लाइज फ्रॉग्स कीड़े मकोड़े दिख रहे हैं. सो दे थॉट कि जहाँ पे भी चीजें सड़ रही है, when they are getting decayed or rotten material is present, there those life is present. So they thought that it came from the non-living material that was decaying and rotting. But this was experimentally disproved. यानी लुइस पास्चर ने इस चीज को नहीं माना. He said that how is it possible? If I do an experiment, that is I kept 3 containers. First container I kept it open, जहाँ पे मैंने एक पीस रख दिया, say of chicken liver or any kind of thing I kept it, जिसके ऊपर मैगॉट्स आ गए. देयर वॉज फॉर्मेशन ऑफ मैगॉट्स, यानी वहां पे इंसेक्ट्स आके ग्रो कर रहे थे. दैट वॉज द फर्स्ट केस. सेकेंड केस, ही टुक अनदर जार विच इट वॉज कॉर्क सील, उसको पूरी तरह सील कर दिया, एंड वहां पे कोई मैगॉट्स नहीं थे. वहां पे जो मीट रखा हुआ था दैट वॉज ऑल कम्प्लीटली एज इट इज. थर्ड कंडीशन ही सॉ, जहाँ पे उसने एक गॉज covered container rakha. That means it was a mesh like structure that was kept. But again, there was no formation of maggots in the meat. Meat was completely normal, जबकि जो gauze था उसके ऊपर flies आके बैठ गए. So what did he conclude from it? That the meat was not the origination of the life, that was maggots or flies. Flies तो जब बंद था तब भी वो गॉस के ऊपर आके बैठे, और जब कॉर्क था तब तो फ्लाइज भी नहीं आए. So that was the thing that he considered, that it is not coming from the rotting material, that was disapproved. So he then said, अभी कोई चीज को disapprove किया है, then you have to give some another theory that people can approve on. So he tried to demonstrate that life comes from a pre-existing life. Now what did he say? कि अगर एक लाइफ को आना है तो वो कहाँ से आएगी? वो आएगी प्री एग्जिस्टिंग लाइफ से. बट अगेन द क्वेश्चन स्टिल अराइजेस, दैट इज हाउ डिड द प्री एग्जिस्टिंग लाइफ कम फ्रॉम? ये आने का पता चल गया, बट उसके पहले का कहाँ से आया? अगेन दैट वाज अ बिग क्वेश्चन मार्क. एंड बट स्टिल दैट वाज अ काइंड ऑफ थिंग दैट वाज at least experimentally proved. That was from the pre-sterilized flask. There was नो ऑर्गेनिज्म, यानी सारे के सारे ईस्ट किल्ड हो चुके थे. बट अगर ईस्ट को रखा था वहां पे, दैट वाज इट वाज ओपन टू एयर, देन न्यू ऑर्गेनिजम्स ऑफ ईस्ट डिड कम. So that was a kind of thing that people for many years believed that it comes from the pre-existing life. But how did the previous life come? That was not understood. So then the next thing was there, that was theory of biogenesis, which was told by Reddy. So Reddy was able to prove that जो flies आए थे, that did not arise from the putrefying meat. Putrefying means it was the dead and decaying kind of meat. वो बिना eggs के तो नहीं आया था. If it had eggs onto the meat, then those eggs could hatch and then the new flies could arise. Then there was another scientist, that was Paplenzi, who had demonstrated that putrefaction of meat, that is decaying of meat, was because of the microbes in the air, and it can be prevented by boiling and sealing the meat in airtight containers. Now again, this particular scientist got deviated from his motivation. उसको बताना था how did life come, but instead what did he tell? How to protect the meat from getting decayed. That is not what we wanted. We wanted how did life come onto this planet. So again, that was not accepted. Then Pasteur, that is Louis Pasteur, had given a definite proof about the life arising from the pre-existing life. So he undergone the experiment जिसको उसने नाम दिया था swan neck flask experiment. So since the flask that he used had a kind of swan neck, so the experiment name was kept on that thing. Now again, how was the experiment conducted? उसने एक flask लिया, उसके अंदर he kept some broth or any kind of liquid, उसको हीट अप्लाई किया और वो फ्लास्क को खुला रख दिया. Since it was heated, there was no bacteria found. Second thing what he did, he had heat applied. After heat application, what did he do? He removed the neck, यानी it was completely open to air. और जब वो open to air था, once it was open to air, what did it happen? There was bacteria present. Third experiment he did, that was he heated the particular flask and he tilted the flask sideways. Yani some part of the fluid that was kept inside the flask was open to the atmosphere, it was open to the air. Or third time पे भी the bacteria was present. So what did he understood? कि अगर उसमें बैक्टीरिया लाना है, it should be open to air and it is coming from the pre-existing life, but that disapproved the spontaneous generation, that is it is coming from non-living matter. ये तो disapprove कर दिया, but still how did the life originate, it could not tell. Then the next was the theory of chemical evolution. So this is the kind of theory that was also called as Oparin-Haldane hypothesis. Now you might think, why is it kept in this big thing? Because for many years and even now for some time, this theory is kind of approved and people can think upon that ये हुआ हो सकता है. So what was it? So it was proposed that the first form of life could have come from the pre-existing non-living molecules. Instead of non-living matter, it came from non-living molecules, which was kind of RNA, proteins. इन सब चीजों से life बनी हो सकती है, and then there might have been a chemical evolution. So how did it happen? Say for example, there were free atoms for the first time. So free atoms for like carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, all these free atoms, they came together and formed some simple inorganic molecules or compounds. So there's a hydrogen gas bani, वाटर वेपर या वाटर बना या अमोनिया बना या कार्बन ऑक्सीजन ने साथ में आके कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड बनाया. देन फ्रॉम दीज देयर वर मोर सिंपलर काइंड ऑफ अ कंपाउंड, जैसे मीथेन बनाया. Okay, from these methane compounds, simple organic compounds, there were more a bit complex compounds. That was formation of like simple sugars, amino acids, glycerol, fatty acids, ऐसे सब चीजें बने. Now from these simple organic compounds, complex organic compounds बने. जैसे simple sugars से complex sugars बने, amino acids से proteins, glycerol, fatty acids से fats बने. Then the nucleic acids formation, DNA, RNA, and all that complex things were formed. And once these complex things came together and found a wall towards them, then there was formation of the first life. And from this first life, because of the chemical origin, the life on earth was developed. So this kind of hypothesis, it was just a kind of thought, it was not a theory, it is a hypothesis and people had thought about it and they tried to tell कि ऐसा कुछ chemical evolution हुआ होगा, because of which the first cell or first life could have been come into origin. So what were the conditions that had supported to grow this kind of chemical evolution? So if you consider now towards this particular date of earth, so earth पे आज क्या ये chemical origin हो सकता है and can it form a new life? Maybe not, because the conditions are very much different now. So what were the conditions in the original earth that was found many years ago? So वहाँ पे rain हो रही थी, rain तो आज भी हो रही है. So can you think of again forming this kind of life? Okay, let's see what are the next ingredients needed for the new life formation. Second है lightning. Lightning, because वहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा reactions हो रहे थे during the old earth, so lightning was evident over there. But nowadays also you can see lightning, but it is not very frequent. वहाँ पे बहुत frequent हुआ करते थे. Radiations of earth, radiations coming from the sun, that is UV radiations, were a lot more than the radiations that we today have. There was a lot high temperature, and the most important part that it was having reducing atmosphere. whereas now on the present earth we have oxidizing atmosphere. So a very important thing that people should remember, that reducing environment होता है या reducing conditions होते हैं, these are majorly for formation. जब reducing चीजें होती है, it is the case of formation. But oxidation जब होता है, whenever there is oxidating environment, it is always for destruction. Oxidative environment is never going to support anything creative, because you understand कि जब iron आता है in contact with moisture and oxygen, whenever oxygen is present, it is going to destruct anything. So oxygen ion को क्या कर देता है, it will make it rusted. So जब भी oxygen होगा, it will destruct. So because of oxidative environment today, it is very difficult to have a new life, new chemical origination of life. So these are the possible conditions. In those days it was okay to have the formation of the first life. Now, the experimental hypothesis was experimentally told to people by the help of S.L. Miller. So, this American scientist, based on the Oparin and Haldane hypothesis, उसने एक ऐसा condition create किया in his laboratory, along with the 5 points that we understood that was present onto the earth. So in 1953 he created a spark chamber. वो स्पार्क चेम्बर में उसने वाटर वेपर्स रखी. ही क्रिएटेड मीथेन, द अमोनिया एंड हाइड्रोजन टुगेदर इन वन चेम्बर. जैसे प्रीवियस अर्थ पे जो गैसेस थे, वो गैसेस को उसने वहां पे अरेंज किया. जो लाइटनिंग की पर्पस था, लाइटनिंग के पर्पस के लिए ही एडेड 2 इलेक्ट्रोड्स, सो दैट जो लाइटनिंग हो रही थी वो इलेक्ट्रिक स्पार्क से जनरेट हो सके. So now the next point was, what was the ratio of these gases? So he tried to maintain the ratio of methane, ammonia and hydrogen in 2:1:2. So again, this is a very important part to remember about the ratio. अब water vapor जो था उसका temperature high होना चाहिए, because the surrounding temperature was high, and because of that the water vapor was also heated up. So water vapor was kept at 800 degrees Celsius. In some books it is also mentioned as 1000 degrees Celsius. So it depends on what book do you have to mark it in your exam. Then the electric spark for lightning purpose, it was kept at 75,000 volt, and it was provided to the mixture, यानी ये जो gases थे उस mixture में ये spark को generate किया गया. And once the spark chamber was connected to another flask जहाँ पे boiling water रखा गया था, and in one condenser was attached. Condenser was equivalent to the rain. यानी एक साइड पे कंडेंसेशन हो रहा था जहाँ पे बारिश हो रही थी, that was the rain, and one side there was heating up of all these condensings, that was the Haldane's soup. So जो भी लावा जो secrete हो रहा था, that lava was not going to cool down in sudden movement. तो वो एक hot soup जैसा था. So that hot soup was nothing but the Haldane's soup. So it was equivalent to that condition of the previous earth. So all this was very well controlled, but यहाँ पे सिर्फ एक चीज की कमी थी, that was the source of energy. Except the source of energy, everything was managed to be exactly same as that of the previous earth conditions, wherein the life could have originated in this kind of scenario. So what do you think? ये जो chamber जैसी चीज बनाई है, was it successful to have provided some information about कि हाँ ये चीज हो सकती है to have the first life? So let us understand what did it happen. But before that, let us see about this particular apparatus in detail. So वहाँ पे electrodes थे ऊपर, because questions पूछते हैं based on this particular setup, that is the chambers. So spark discharge था, there were many gases kept, and these gases had the water outlet coming into the condenser. Condenser का in an outlet था, water droplets were formed, there was a boiling water that was equivalent to the Haldane soup, and the water trapped was equivalent to the rainfall that was happening. All these things were set up. Now the point came, the real motive behind this particular experiment, that was whether it was successful to determine कि ये chemical evolution से life आ सकती है. So after 18 days of this setup that was set up by S.L. Miller, after 18 days a significant amount of organic compound was appeared. So that was a big victory. So वहाँ पे organic compounds दिखे, and because of that people tried to believe of this hypothesis provided by Oparin and Haldane. So there were amino acids that were formed, that was alanine, aspartic acid and glycine. So again this is a very important question that people ask on, that first of all what were the amino acids found with the ratio of 2:1:2. So the amino acids were alanine, aspartic acid and glycine. So to remember, what was it? आग. आग produce हुई थी with the victory, that was alanine, aspartic acid and glycine. So this is a little trick that you can remember to see about the first amino acids formed. So because of the victory of S.L. Miller to show that this actually have some importance to form the organic compounds, so now many other scientists also thought that even we will conduct this kind of experiment, but person cannot have everything same as it is. So what did they do? Instead of just forming the ratio of 2:1:2, they tried to change the ratio. और ratio जब उन्होंने change किए gases के, उन्होंने हो सकता है temperature change किया या ज़्यादा दिनों तक रखा या any sort of changes that they made, and because of those changes there was different molecules formed. जैसे sugar बना, nitrogen bases बने, किसी को pigments मिले, some got fats in them. So these kinds of different experiments that scientists conducted, that showed us a view behind that this could have been the possibility wherein the life could be formed. So even there was to undergo कि ऐसा कुछ हुआ है क्या. So there was also evidence coming from the meteorites. So the meteorites that had struck the earth, even similar kind of components, that is compounds, were seen कि जो meteorites के ऊपर compounds form हुए थे, even those kinds of compounds were identical to the compounds that were formed in the experimental situation. So that could have been also said that किसी और planet पे भी ऐसे कुछ reactions हो रहे हैं. So that also gave a kind of a example or to show कि जो experimental demonstration किया गया है, that is a evidence for the chemical evolution, that whatever Oparin and Haldane had said, coming from the organic molecules, coming from simple inorganic molecules, all those chemical evolution was actually true. Until now it has not been exactly proved, but still people can believe onto it कि ये कुछ हो सकता है, to believe onto that how the life originated onto the planet Earth. So this was all about today's story time for the chapter introduction with evolution. I hope you understood this very well, and if you, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel to understand like this about the entire chapter evolution. Stay tuned with Biophilia till the next time we come back soon. Till then, bye bye everyone. Thank you.